Hello, witches! It is Wednesday. We are the Witches Movie Coven. We are witches, yes, real witches, who talk about witches in movies. Yes, indeed, witchy things, witchy people, witchy themes, and some witch adjacent along the way. Thank you for joining us. My name is Patti Negri. I am one of your hosts. So make sure you have something to drink. Make sure you have a goat or two. Make sure you have a wand and a good imagination. This week's movie is Pan's Labyrinth from 2006. We're going to get into that in momentarily. Again, my name is Patti. I'm proud to be one of your hosts. You might know me from The Witching Hour, my regular podcast, Ghost Adventures, Portals to Hell, Overnight, Sam and Colby, Bathroom Walls Across America, or my books, Old World Magic for the Modern World, and my latest book I love so much, Dollcraft, all about dolls, indeed, of all sorts. But let me pass this along to my beautiful and amazing co-hosts, starting with the fluffy-haired Courtney Buckley.
That's me, Ghost Bait on Scared and Alone. And as you can tell, it's humid where I am, and that's proof positive. I'm excited to be here and excited to introduce you to yet another Coven member, as promised. This is our new rescue, Rocky. He is a Eurymastix, and I've been told in no uncertain terms, no more lizards, but nobody puts baby in a corner. So we'll see what happens.
Thank you very much. Let's move it to Richard-Lael this time.
I am Richard-Lael. Richard-Lael is one name, not two names. If I were just Richard, I would be A. That's right. I would be one of those. I am known as the psychic medium. The gentleman psychic. I'm a psychic medium. Used to be a psychic in a small, but I gained some weight. I really flubbed that joke this time. I was not paying attention, but that is okay. Anyway, you can, if you would like to sleep with me, you certainly may. I mean, somebody has to. You can go right over to Mystery Control, wherever it may be. You can get my pillow. At some point, you'll be able to get into Patty's panties. You'll be able to be a witch bro. You'll be able to get Heather's quotes, Heather's books, Courtney's quotes. You'll get all of these things right over there. Also, the likes, the comments, the shares. It helps us to continue to give great content for you. So please make certain that you are commenting. We are watching. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. Now let's move to our beautiful, more... I've got hair envy today. Let's start out with Jason Mankey.
I have hair envy today, and that doesn't happen very often, that's for sure. I am Jason Mankey, author of 10 books, including The Horn God of the Witches. I'm coming to you live from my sweltering office. If I look like I'm about ready to faint, it's just the heat, and shout out to the Iron Maidens, all female, all maiden, who were just recently here in Silicon Valley.
Thank you very, very much. And last and never, never, never least, the beautiful Heather Greene.
Hi, I am Heather Greene. I'm the author of Lights, Camera, Witchcraft. This is the definitive guide to witches and witchcraft in American film and television. I am also a journalist covering all things occult in the mainstream media and an editor at Llewellyn Worldwide, working with wonderful witchy authors. And I am also a member of this coven, and I'm happy to be here tonight.
Yay, thank you. As I was saying, this week's movie is Pan's Labyrinth. I actually didn't know anything about it before I watched it. Hopefully you guys watched it along with all of us. But just in case some of you missed it or you fell asleep during it or turned off the television, Richard-Lael, do you happen to have an unbiased synopsis of this lovely film?
I do have an unbiased synopsis, and you might be surprised about how unbiased it will be. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Formulas work. So anyway, the story takes place in the 1930s in Spain. A young girl and her pregnant mother are traipsing through the woods in their Rolls Royces to be taken to meet the captain, which is the mother's new husband after the death of her late husband, the girl's father. You find out that this woman is expecting. She is pregnant with the captain's baby, and they have previously been married. They have been married but they have now gone to the woods to go to this sort of outpost, this camp, where they are sort of near the edge of guerrilla warfare, which I didn't quite delve into as to why, but nonetheless, the little girl has brought books with her, and all of the books are fairy tales, just fairy tales. Her mother inquires that she thinks she should be listening to other things other than just fairy tales, and shouldn't she think she should be old enough to read other books other than just children's stories. So as they near the camp, the captain or the sergeant or whatever he was, I don't know his rank, but whatever he was, greets the wife, and he forces her into a wheelchair because even though she said she could walk, he asked her to do this for me. So she complies, she gets in the wheelchair, and then the little girl goes to get out of the car and extends her left hand. This is where you get an indication of who this person is, and he crushes her left hand, and he tells her, no, it's the right one. If you want to shake my hand, it's the right one. Well, as she gets out of the car, the little girl starts to wander off, and she finds herself at the base of a labyrinth, a real labyrinth. And one of the housekeepers has come to find her so that she doesn't get lost. And the housekeeper explains that this labyrinth has been here for a long time, much longer than the fort was, much longer than anyone remembered. Well, while she is sort of exploring, she finds a bug she thinks is a fairy, and the fairy sort of follows her home. As luck would have it, she finds out the bug was a fairy, and that she is taken to meet Pan, the horned god, Jason Mankey. She goes to meet Pan in his labyrinth, and upon her entrance, he instantly recognizes her as a long-lost princess who, many, many, many years ago, decided that she would rise above ground and that she would live as a mortal. And then she did. But the king knew that she would be reborn, and she was. And it was in the form of this little girl. I can't remember. Sophia? I don't think that was her name. Anyway, the little...
Ofelia.
Ofelia. So she ends up by going back to the house. We find that her mother is actually really sick and is dying, and Pan has visited her again, given her this book, and tells her what she needs to do is to take a mandrake root and place it under the bed in milk, and then give it 3 drops of blood every single day, and that mother would be better. So she does so, and miraculously, the fever is gone. And the little girl asks the baby while her mother is sleeping, don't hurt her. Don't hurt our mother. She's so beautiful. I know that she's sad a lot, but she's also very beautiful. And you'll see that when she smiles. So the next round happens that she is supposed to open the book and figure out what to do next. Well, her mother has given her a beautiful green dress that she is to wear to dinner that evening, and she's not enthusiastic about it, but she goes in, and the book tells her she has to go down into back to the labyrinth, where she meets Mitch McConnell. But she is warned. Do not eat of anything, because it can actually act as dire consequence. It should be noted that on the walls, the paintings are depict this creature, but it's the famous painting of Kronos eating his children. So that is what is seen around, and she cannot help it. She is tempted by the grapes, and where the fairies have tried to prevent her from devouring these grapes, like Persephone of old, she takes these grape seeds and she eats them. Unfortunately, it wakes up Mitch McConnell, and he storms after her, and he, instead of devouring her, ends up by devouring the fairies that were trying to save her. So she goes back. She has the dagger. She has these things. You find out that there have been in the woods these people who were they were against this regime, this sort of awful, evil regime. And you find out that there are household members who have been helping the men in the woods because some of them are their brothers. The idea is that they are going to starve them out, that they're going to poison them, they're going to do whatever they can, and yet these men in the woods still survive. Then I get a little bit muddled, but as it turns out, the captain, or whatever his name is, he's a really bad guy. He's murdering, unaliving people, even people that were discovered to have been with the opposing team. Ends up by saying, if my child goes to die, take the child, kill the woman. So long story short, they end up by the girl has escaped. Pan has given her one more chance. She has to do whatever she can do. She has to take this brother of hers, and she has to go into the woods. Mother is dead now, by the way. Everything is sort of climaxing in pain and agony and sorrow, and she runs to the labyrinth, and Pan tells her, give me the baby so that we can drop the blood of innocent into the labyrinth and you can regain your throne as princess. And she says that she will not do it. And Pan gets angry at her, and he says, you promised you would do whatever I said, whatever I'd asked. And so, because she had backed away from a promise, the captain, or whatever his rank was, he comes in, he finds her, he unalives the little girl, her blood drops into the labyrinth. Meanwhile, he has rescued his child, his boy, from the girl, and he comes back out, and the people in the woods, and now also members of the household, are there, and he knows that it's over. So he hands the baby to the governess or to the cook, and he says, tell my son that when he is older about me. And she says, no, he will not even know your name. Your son will never even know your name. And then, of course, excuse me, pardon me, he is unalived by a round of gunshots, and they go to meet the little girl, and she's at death's door. The blood has dripped into pools into the labyrinth, and the little girl has breathed her last breath. But as the camera cuts, she says, she wakes up, and you hear the voice of her father tell her that she has made the right choice, that she was going to be a wise ruler, that she was not going to take the road of violence, that she would take the road of self-sacrifice. And it is said that she reigned for many, many years. And even though she passed from the mortal realm, there were still elements that you would see if you knew where to look. And that's the end.
Thank you very much. That was a nice long synopsis for you, Richard-Lael.
It was very long. I was trying to get it, but it's a nuanced film. It's a lot.
It's a nuanced film. It certainly is. And there might even be a little bit more. Miss Heather Greene, is there a little bit more we might need to know about this movie?
Yeah, well, there's lots. There's so many things that anyone can talk about this movie. So I'll just give you a few notes. This is a 2006 film. It was considered a Mexican-Spanish joint venture film. It is directed, written, and co-produced by Guillermo del Toro. We'll talk about him in a second. It earned, well, I'll say this first. It was $16 million budget, but his box office is currently at 7+ million. So I'd say it's done quite well. The Number of nominations this film has got is this enormous 115 nominations. It's gotten 109 awards. 3 of those are Academy Awards for cinematography, art direction, and makeup. You are probably not surprised. So let's talk about Del Toro. We have seen him already. I'll get to that in a second. Born in Mexico, he has obviously is a student of film and imagery, but he says specifically fell in love with cinema, specifically this type of storytelling, because he was an avid lucid dreamer. He actually dreamed about the faun character in this film itself. He said in one interview that the faun would come to him at midnight when the bells would chime, because he grew up in a Catholic family in a Catholic area. So the bells would chime at midnight, and every time the bell would chime, the faun would pop up from behind the wardrobe. He also dreamed of archangels at his beds and all this kind of simultaneously. This childhood that was filled with mystery and fantasy was also filled with this sort of sense of horror of what's going to appear in the night in these lucid dreams he had. We've seen him in Frankenstein. Of course, we did that recently. That's the 2025 film. And then he also wrote The Witches, the 2020 remake of the 1991, I believe, was the original. He has also done, here are some of his films on here. I would like to point out The Shape of Water, 2017 is amazing. Pinocchio recently came out. He also did Hellboy, Pacific Rim, wrote parts of the Hobbit series, and he got his breakthrough with the film Kronos. So interesting thing about him real quick is he lost 40 pounds on this one because he ran out of money and had to supply his own money. And then he had to not take a salary at all. So he lost a lot of weight on this film. That's just a note I thought was interesting. Now, usually I'll do the actors. These are mainly a Spanish cast, most of whom you probably have never heard of, although all of them deserve creds for their work, of course. And you can see their long list of movie creds. Most, again, are Spanish or Spanish language films. There is one actor I do want to point out who we have seen before, and that is Doug Jones, who is Billy Butcherson in the Hocus Pocus movies. So he was here. He, of course, is Pan or the Faun. And in there, he was Billy Butcherson. He's also the amphibian man in The Shape of Water. He's worked with on Hellboy, Mimic, and a number of other Del Toro movies. He was also Count Orlok in the Nosferatu movie, not the one we reviewed, but a different one that was made more recently. So he does these monster type figures. That's Doug Jones. So number 4, I want to talk about language a little bit, because this movie is a Spanish language film. It was nominated for the best movie of the year. A foreign movie of the year, did not win that Academy Award. The original title is I'm not going to say it right, but El Labyrinto del Fauno, di Fauno. They use faun, and Del Toro specifically says there is no Pan, the god Pan, in this movie. It is a faun. He made that, but they changed it anyway because they didn't want this movie they were afraid this movie would sound like a Bambi movie. Faun as in baby deer. So they changed it to Pan, but Pan, of course, he doesn't think that was translated properly. There is no Pan, the god, as we might know it, or the ancient Greeks might know it, in this film. I'm sure Jason will talk all about that later. So hold on. Another thing on language. I figured you were going to talk about it, so I'm going to let that go. He also wrote the subtitles himself. So if we all watch subtitles, he wrote them because he didn't like his other films and the way they were subtitled. So he did the subtitles here. Finally, my last thing I want to talk about is the themes. So this obviously is a fairy tale. It's a dark fantasy, of course, which is dark fantasy. Generally, I define it as a horror-infected fantasy, horror-infected fairy tale stories. And I say that with love, of course, because I do love dark fantasy and it works really well. It juxtaposes something childhood innocence with stuff that is horrific. It brings beauty and ugliness together, which is something Del Toro loves to do. Look at what we saw in I was going to say Hamilton. No, in Frankenstein, where we saw the character of Frankenstein very ugly on the outside, or at least that's what he was supposed to be, and very beautiful on the inside. You have the exact opposite here. Del Toro specifically chose a very good-looking man to play the captain because he was so horrid on the inside. That is a Del Toro thing that comes also from his love of fantasy and fairy tale and all this type of thing. But what's interesting is that this period of time, there were a lot of what we might call high fantasy, not quite the same as in the 80s, which was more sword and sorcery, but there were a lot of high fantasy films right around 2006. You had, of course, the Lord of the Rings series. You had Narnia was exactly at this time. And so what's interesting to me is that this type of fantasy tells the story of a young girl's dreaming of getting out. So we talk a lot about the boy's escape journey. The boy's escape journey to get out is always to wind up becoming the hero. It's the hero, ultimately the hero's journey. I'm going to conquer the false father and I'm going to become the hero of the land. That's the boy's journey. That's Harry Potter. That's parts of the Narnia kids' character. But the girls are seeking to escape an oppressed life, one they were born into for sheer fact of being a girl, to try to escape into a family, to try to escape into a space, and they usually go through magic. So this is a classic fairy tale story that we see in these fairy tale similar fairy tales. And I have a few examples. You have Alice in Wonderland, of course, classic one. Narnia, you have it in Narnia too with the girls. You have The Witch, another version of this story for our main character. She escapes into the woods at the end to escape the oppression of her society, not escaping to become king, but escaping to become part of something. You have it in Owl House. Anytime a young girl, a little girl, is trying to escape, like a society, allegorically or otherwise, they are trying to escape into something that is family, that is comfort. And so they often do it through magic or magical means and magical thinking. So that's all I have for you today. I hand it back over to you, Patty.
Beautiful. Thank you very, very much. Okay, is anybody jumping to go first on this by any means?
I would like to talk about the sound.
Okay, but before we go there, everybody look in the chat room. Tabitha, who is one of our Coven members, the beautiful Tabitha Meadows, psychic medium. She is an equal part of this Coven. She is manning and staffing the chat room for her. So follow her stuff. She's great. So, okay, now back to you, Courtney.
I mean, I have a lot to say about this movie, but one of the first thing that I wrote down was the attention to sound. And it was every little detail, every little audio detail, the squeaking of their leather boots every time they moved, or like the sound of the floorboards, or when he was shaving his face, like the swing of the razor on his face. It was like that alone was so immersive, I feel like. And I was listening to it with headphones, which I really appreciated that I had done that. But I just think that deserved an award in and of itself, the sound. But I mean, it held my attention, shockingly, because I had to read it. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. It was beautifully shot. It was a gripping story. I was mad. I was sad. I was proud. I felt all the feelings. I was scared. But I was really just overall impressed. I was impressed at like all of the details that go into it. So that's not an unbiased mention there, but I thought it was, I had heard of it before. And when people were asking me what we were doing this week and I said Pan's Labyrinth, and they were like, "You've never seen it?" And I was like, right. I'm shocked that I've never seen it, but now I have, and I'm glad that I did. And for the first time in many weeks, I watched every minute of the movie. Wow. So I know that's got to say something, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay. I appreciate it. The fantasy, the escape world, the magical world. I think I was just in a personal space, not ready for that dark of the reality. We're in scary times now, which makes it perfect, kind of, to escape. It makes it, but the war, the violence. I've turned in these last few years into such a peacenik, into such it. I sat in pain for however long that movie was, physical, emotional, spiritual pain. And you see this beautiful little girl and what she has to live through. And then even the escape to fantasy world isn't that, but witchcraft, not that it's witchcraft, but magic isn't, it's about keeping your heart, keeping your imagination and your compassion alive. And that's what she showed. But I still hurt from this. I still hurt. Just the reality of war stuff. He's really good at violence. Really good at violence. I literally hid, and I don't usually do that. It's like, and all of it was the beautiful shooting, the sound of the violence, the beating, the cutting, the listening, the thatting. You're right, Courtney. It's just like too real for me. I have to breathe.
It's a hard movie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you could go ahead, Richard-Lael. It's a hard movie.
It is a hard movie. It was very painful to watch, and there were many times that when the violence was perpetuated, I had to go, oh, no, I can't. Even when it came to his recompense, when he had the housekeeper, and she had tucked that knife away, and she basically says, I could gut you like a pig. And she slices his cheek, even that. And then the drinking of the alcohol as he's trying to sew it together, I had to go, nope, I can't. So it was painful. It was absolutely painful and heartbreaking. And, what do you do in a war-torn world? What do you do? And, the mother she's trying to tell the daughter, the little girl, Ofelia, you can't, you have to grow up, because it's not, these fairy tales don't exist. And there are horrible things that happen. I mean, horrible things happen. That's what I say.
Thank you. Love the Labyrinth, I must say, though. I love the Labyrinth. I did love the Labyrinth. Jason, say something.
I saw this movie at the theater when it originally came out. So there was no hiding in the movie theater, right? You're there. You're forced to look at everything that's on the screen. It was called Pan's Labyrinth in the United States, and we could talk about Pan a little bit towards the end. So I had to see it as a horned god person. This was a must. I had never seen a foreign language film before then. I'm a very provincial in my own way, like I'm going to watch Lord of the Rings and I'm going to watch superhero movies. I had never watched a foreign film, but we went. It's only subtitled. There are no dubs of this movie. You have to watch it with subtitles, no matter where you live in the world, unless, of course, you speak Spanish. And I swear I was so caught up in this film. At the end, you're just bawling and crying. Ari's next to me. Friends are next to me. We're all doing this. And I swear that I thought the last 10 minutes of the movie were in English. I was so absorbed into everything that was going on. And I remember walking out of the theater, with the tears and all that. And we're all kind of shaken because the movie is very powerful. And I was like, I thought it was amazing at the end when they all start speaking English. And Ari's like, what did you watch? What is wrong with you? That clearly did not happen. And it was because I just got so wrapped up into everything that was going around me that, I couldn't see the words on the screen. All I could do was sort of exist in that moment. And everything sounded like it was in English to me. Not to laugh at the end of the movie, but it's funny to me how I reacted to the film. At least that part. Did you see this in the theater, Heather? It seems like that's something you might see in a theater.
I didn't. I think when it came out, I remember when it did come out, I had just very small children. So going to the theater was not something I did often. I think my youngest was 3 at the time. So, you
Not
know,
ready for that movie.
no. I was anytime I went to the theater, for the most part, it was going to be for it was going to be a cartoon, a Disney movie, Cars, and Toy Story movies, and maybe Shrek if we were feeling edgy. So, but I've been wanting to watch it for a long time, and because I'm a Del Toro fan. I think he is a true cinematic artist, on all levels, as a writer, as a cinematographer, the way he pays attention to details. Not all major directors have the artistic eye he has, and specifically he applies it to what I see as, similar movies that I really like, which is not just a fun and games. I didn't watch what's the Bridge over Terabithia. Those not just the light fantasy, fantastical fun, which is, he's not doing that. He's adding that horror element. He's creating that dark fantasy. He's giving us the grit alongside a fantasy that's typically meant for kids. It's a brilliant combination. It's a brilliant balance. And it's really one of the best places for horror, because that's what horror is. It's really forcing us to get comfortable with something that we know, and then shoving something that's not supposed to be there. The violence. And I'm interested, I'd really, I could do a study about this, but looking back at 2006 and people reacting to the film then would look very different to people watching it now, because of what's going on in the world, because of the growth of fascist movements in our world. Now people are going to react much more viscerally, I think, to that horror aspect that he does so brilliantly, just keeps pushing it back and forth. So I think it's fascinating. I was mesmerized, beautiful, powerful. And I think he said in one of his interviews, whatever people take about it, whatever allegory they think it is what it is. And I think that's a beautiful response from an artist. It's whatever it is to him means to him, but it's whatever the viewer wants it to mean. And there's a lot of things. You see religion in it. You see religious symbolism in it. You can see savior story in it. You can see, I love the fact that this underworld god with horns is not the villain. You have some really interesting things going on. It deserved its Academy Awards for sure. And it deserves a place in our cinematic history. So it's really beautiful.
Okay. Thank you. Courtney.
Well, I did. One of the things that I thought of during the movie that I forgot to talk about before is when Mitch McConnell, which I knew he looked familiar, when he did this, I was like, Jason wrote 10 books. Like a sleeper agent. I was activated, and I that's what I thought of. So yeah.
My wife and I do that to each other. Like, I can see you, because we are fascinated by the idea of a monster with eyeballs on his palm. And that's one of the hallmarks of a lot of these Del Toro films, because you see it in Hellboy too, is how distinct his monsters look. And he really likes that motif of eyes in very strange places, like people's palms. There's nothing else like it. He was originally supposed to direct the Hobbit movies, and he kind of wrote them, but he did some of the pre-production work, which I think is why those creatures in that look so different than Lord of the Rings sometimes. And when we went to see the Hobbit, poor Richard-Lael, I'm glad that you're like not our third in our relationship, because we would drag you to all these movies that you would hate. It would be a long movie. You could like watch it and go, oh yeah, that's a Del Toro creature, because they're so distinct, and he just has his own style so much.
Richard-Lael.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was engaged. There was part of me that almost saw this as an opera. So it was easy for me to understand why there would be death and violence, because most of the operas I enjoy, there is death and violence. Before, even if there's a so-called happy ending, there is always death and violence in an opera. And with an opera, you do get into the acting and the stagecraft and the lighting and the sound, and yes, the music as well, yes, what they sing, but it's more along the nuances of the other things. You can understand them. If you understand the opera, you can understand this movie. Great opera, bad musical. Yeah, probably be a very bad musical. Our producer says it would be a very bad musical.
I don't know. I feel like the Mitch McConnell number would go hard, honestly.
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands.
Incredible.
But it very much reminded me of a stereotypical opera where it's in 3 acts. These 3 acts, of course, culminate in someone being sacrificed for one reason or another, and then whether or not there is joy and redemption, but still having to deal with a human emotion. I thought it was incredibly beautiful. I thought it was incredibly moving. And I cannot praise Del Toro enough. He is a brilliant artist. And you could also see his stagecraft. You can see the love of the witchcraft of magic, because I mean of acting, the magic, the witchcraft of acting. He's right there, and I think anyone who is able to tell a story and to do it so effectively, bravo. Yes, it was painful. Yes, it was very painful.
It was very painful.
It was also equally beautiful.
Yeah, and I like what you said, Heather, about him not make it what it is for you, because even at the end, I'm like, okay, are we looking at the literal reality? Ofelia dies. Are we looking at the spiritual? She returned to her kingdom. Are we looking at the symbolic, a person transcending fear and becoming immortal through her sacrifice? Are we looking through? I don't.
It's all of those things.
And that's like a really great point. I would actually love if we could talk about that, because of what Heather just said about Del Toro's idea that whatever people took from it, that's what it was. Like, what did you guys think? What was it to you at the end?
I thought that she was dead. I thought that, even though I do believe in reincarnation, I do believe that in cosmic memory, I do believe that time is an illusion. I also believe that when the human body is experiencing the oxygen is being deprived from the brain, that's why we see the white light. That's why we see these things. And I think, sure, maybe she did in some aspect go to her land and go to her people, but I also think that she was literally dying. That was the white light that people talk about. I really think, because we would like that fairy tale, that fantasy of, they're going to be reincarnated, they're going to be beautiful. Not to bring it down too much, but the United States bombed a girls' school 3 times. 3 times. So would I like to think that these little girls, these beautiful children who had so much potential, that they went on to their fairy kingdoms? Yes. But no, the human aspect says maybe they did. But the very real aspect is that she died and they died. And from our perspective, that's what we have. And so it was, yes, I think she died to this world.
I agree. I think in addition to that, I feel like when I watching it, it was like her only moments of comfort were her books. And so she went to a place where her books were. Like that was where her mind went when she needed that comfort in those last moments. And that was hard to watch, but it was beautiful.
So was it tragic, or was it triumphant, or was it both?
I think it was a little bit of both. She was safe. Finally.
So when I watched this movie in the theater, I was crying a lot because I saw the world with the faun as a fantasy land that wasn't real that she used to escape, and that she did not have that happy ending. You know, to me, it was she got the happy ending for exactly what Richard-Lael says, right? That sort of reason where you kind of work a way in your mind. But before this episode of the show, I read a bunch of Del Toro interviews, and this is a lengthy quote, but I want to share it if that's okay with all of you, because I was surprised, and now I see the movie in an entirely different light. He says, if people watch the movie carefully, the precise wording of the faun's words to the girl is, you have to pass 3 tests before the full moon shines in the sky. We have to make sure that your spirit is intact and not become mortal. That's the purpose of the test. If not, if she gets the dagger and she gets the key, those are the mechanics of the test. Mechanics which she can then proceed to fault. But she can flunk the tests. The mechanics of the test she succeeds in. She believes in herself. She does what she thinks is right. She screws up here and there, but when the real tests come, when she is cornered with no other options but to either kill or give her own life, she chooses to put her own life at risk rather than her brother's. That's a real test. That's what makes her immortal. That's what makes her go back and, this is a very tiny text. So the movies, all the tests are a misdirection, and you actually go back and watch the movie and realize that my thesis is that the faun is the pale man in another guise. He's the trickster in another guise. So is the faun. And the proof of that in the movie is that at the end, where she goes and rejoins her father and her mother and the baby in the other world, the fairies that the pale man ate are all around her, the same fairies. I coded them in 3 colors, so when they appear, you could know. But he says that, you know, she really was the princess, and she took these tests, and she passed the tests because of who she was, which was a good and decent person, and would not take the easy way out. So I felt so much better about this movie after reading that, and I wish I had read it in 2006. Because I've been carrying a lot of grief for 20 years.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any quotes, Miss Courtney?
Yes, Richard-Lael took half of them, but I'm going to.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. Say them anyway. They're really good quotes.
I'm going to say them anyway because I wrote them down. So I have a couple. Hold on. I have a couple that I pulled from online because they were too long to write down. One of them that broke my heart as a mother who battles depression. When Ophelia's talking to her brother and saying, when you're born, don't hurt her. And then is trying to explain their mother. And she says, you'll meet her. She's very pretty. Even though sometimes she's sad for many days at a time, you'll see when she smiles, you'll love her. And that was, I almost lost it on that one. And then when, what was her name? Mercedes was attacking the captain and she said, don't you dare touch the girl. Won't be the first pig I gutted. I was ready to cheer out loud because get it, girl, and cut that man's face. And I love that. And then another one that Richard-Lael touched on, because I just thought, because I've talked about this before, that the endings of movies ruin things for me, or like they don't do it right. And this was just the most poetic way to end this. And he just got everything he deserved when he said, tell my son what time his father died. And she looked at him and said, no, he won't even know your name. And then shot him. And I was like, well, perfect. And then the last lines in the movie, because I was heartbroken. And it is said that the princess returned to her father's kingdom, that she reigned there with justice and a kind heart for many centuries, that she was loved by her people, and that she left behind small traces of her time on earth, visible only to those who knew where to look. And you know what? If that isn't how we all go, you know? And I thought that was beautiful. This is embarrassing. My lizard is sleeping and it's so cute and it's making me emotional.
You're not the Richard-Lael cried. I almost cried. I think crying is a part of a Pan's Labyrinth episode of
Laugh.
the Witches movie Coven. I think if you don't cry at some point, maybe you're a little broken.
Right. Black Phillip is crying.
Yeah.
My Black
Rocky's
Phillip's
not. He's sound asleep. He's being lulled by the sounds of everyone's voices. So just so you know, he loves all of you too. He's sleeping in his little pouch.
He was like, faun? Wait, there's a faun? Pan? Where?
And let's be clear, despite the title of this movie, that is not Pan. There is Del Toro, wanted it to be called Labyrinth of the Faun because that is a much more apt description. This figure clearly doesn't look like Pan, though Pan occasionally had more like ram's horns. But, his upper body was generally humanoid in form. The way that the faun acts is not at all like Pan. And also, you don't want children around Pan at all. That's just a bad idea. He is not that kind of deity. So I need to throw that out there, that this is not Pan, even though the movie is great. And you could see this as a representation of the greater horned one, but not necessarily the Greek god Pan.
Del Toro would appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's more of Mr. Thomas,
Yeah.
except a little scarier Mr. Thomas.
Oh, he's much scarier than Mr. Tumnus, and probably doesn't drink as much tea.
No, I don't think so.
And while we have you, Jason, is there a Mankey movie moment on this?
Sort of. What we're going to do instead is I'm going to take you back to Jason in the 6th grade when my class read the book Where the Red Fern Grows.
Stop. Do not bring that up to me.
Exactly. If you are not familiar with the book Where the Red Fern Grows, you are lucky because it's one of those books that's absolutely traumatizing. In the book, a kid in the Ozarks named Billy saves up a bunch of money working odd jobs and orders up 2 hunting dogs through the mail, which is apparently something that you could do in the early 1900s. When the dogs arrive, he has to walk 20 miles into the nearest town to pick them up. Billy names the dogs Old Dan and Little Ann after seeing those names carved onto a tree trunk on his way home. Billy trains his dogs to be hunters, and Billy and the dogs kill a ton of raccoons. In one particularly brutal incident, Billy tricks a raccoon with nails before butchering it. In another adventure, one of Billy's peers falls on an axe and dies. Kid deaths. I read this in 6th grade. Billy and his dogs then become the greatest raccoon hunters in the Ozarks and eventually become raccoon hunting champions, which is apparently something that happens in the Ozarks. At the end of the book, a mountain lion attacks the dogs and then Billy, and then the dogs regroup and save Billy's life. And in the process, the dogs end up mortally wounded and then die tragic deaths. After the dogs die, Billy's parents tell him they want to move to the city and they were going to leave him behind because there's no way his dogs would have been okay with just a backyard. Billy's dad then tells Billy, I believe God wanted your dogs to die so our family could stay together. What a nice message. Jesus, killer of dogs. And then before Billy moves to the city, he visits the graves of his dogs and sees a red fern growing between them. He then remembers a story that only angels can plant a red fern, which leads him to believe a higher power killed his dogs. Because again, Jesus or something. Why couldn't Jesus just change their temperament? I'm a fast reader, so while my 6th grade teacher was having us read this book out loud in class, and oh gods, I hated listening to other kids try to read aloud. Most are very, very bad at it. I finished it on my own a couple of weeks before everyone else, and at the end of the book, of course, I am sobbing. How terrible. And then a few weeks later, I had to relive the experience all over again. My teacher recorded herself on a cassette tape, God, I'm old, reading the end of the book and played it for us because she knew she would cry reading it all aloud in front of us. And on the tape, you can hear moments when she breaks down, pauses the tape recorder to compose herself, and then starts reading again. Of course, having to listen to my teacher cry was awful, and that along with the end of the book, all of this made me cry all over again. And the torture was not over. My teacher then made us watch the movie adaptation where we had to relive these dogs dying all over again. I was in 6th grade. I had to experience these dogs dying 3 times. The only solace I can take from this is that she didn't also make us read and sob along to Old Yeller, which is also depressing as. I am not alone. People have been traumatized by this book since 1961, and Courtney was traumatized by it too, obviously. As one person stated on Reddit, my teacher made us read it. Then she unintelligibly reread the final chapters in person while aggressively crying with all the kids sitting on the floor around her. I don't know what I was supposed to take from any of this outside of sadness. Yup, that's where the red fern grows. And that book hit me the hardest. And Old Yeller, a grief-filled day I will never get back. But there were lots of other books that traumatized me as a child. Bridge to Terabithia, The Velveteen Rabbit, Charlotte's Web, Flowers for Algernon, even Shel Silverstein's The Giving Tree is super depressing.
What is wrong with you?
And I never reread any of those books, ever. They are forever embedded in my psyche, reminders of how cruel and awful the world could be, even while I acknowledge how good they are and how much I enjoyed reading them at the time. Even now, as an adult, I still actively reflect on all of those books. They are a part of my life, for better or for worse. And to me, Pan's Labyrinth is just like those books. I loved this movie in the theater, and it also made me cry and sob just like old Dan and little Ann made me cry in the 6th grade. Same kind of tears, same permanent scar on my brain and heart. I loved Pan's Labyrinth so much in the theater that I bought the soundtrack on CD and bought the DVD right when it came out. I watched it once and then never watched it again. It's too painful, and the movie is so etched into my mind that it just feels redundant to rewatch it. Great movies sometimes have trauma in them, but there are times when I just can't relive it. Pan's Labyrinth is haunting and beautiful, and it occupies a painful place next to 2 dogs I read about way too many years ago.
Oh my God.
Oh, ow.
On today's episode of How Much of a Masochist Am I Really? That was my favorite book, and I read it repeatedly and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed all the time because I couldn't stop rereading it.
Oh,
There's something about those hard cries that are very, very cathartic and comfortable. And yeah, I get that. I never read that book.
Oh my God.
you
Oh,
are so lucky. Don't worry, someone will readapt it into a movie soon. No IP goes untouched for too long.
That's true.
Yeah, wouldn't.
And hopefully we live long enough, Courtney, that when it hits the public domain, we can watch Where the Red Fern Grows too, where old Dan and little Ann come back to life as zombie dogs.
zombie dogs, yes.
Probably done by
With the
the
Ouija
people
board.
who make those movies you like so much.
Amazing. I will not cry at that one. Or tears of joy, honestly.
All right. We hope we brought you all joy this hour. Happiness. Things. It's now time to rate this well-discussed movie. So, wands up, wands down.
Ooh, look at that.
And I never
Wow.
watched it again.
No.
Yeah.
We don't have to ever. I'm fine with that. We'll never watch it again.
Never want to watch it again.
But it's a great
Well,
movie. But it's a
You
great
guys,
movie.
chat room. Wands up, wands down, wands midway, 2/3, 3/4. Let us know what you guys think. Wand
What's
up, Tabitha. It's so.
What's so disturbing? Is it the fact that we all have our wands up, or the movie?
Or the zombie dogs, maybe.
Or the zombie dog movie?
Or the very painful hour. We're gonna go too.
Somebody sent it to me. I don't know who it was. So if
I'm
you send
gonna go get my go. Wait.
Yours is decorated nicely, Richard-Lael. Mine's just naked.
I need that.
pumpkin,
Yeah, I like it.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh.
He's crying over that
I'm
movie.
feeling like I'm not in the cool kids club right now.
Oh my
Wait,
god.
is this
Wait a minute, what can I
is this
find?
unanimous in the chat? Wands up
It's
too?
unanimous in the
Wait,
chat.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
Crazy.
Courtney, if you
That's
squeeze
amazing.
one of your lizards, does it do this?
No, but he did wake up very angrily at the screaming. He was all the way sound asleep. Watch what he does do. Let's see if I can get him to do it now. He knows he's on camera. He likes to go to sleep. No.
I mean, I don't blame him.
No, there he goes.
Oh, it'd be great if he screamed, though. You got to train him to scream.
He does make sounds. He makes sounds. He was
Yeah.
huffing at me earlier because he was mad because I woke him up to be on YouTube. I said, it's time to be in the spotlight. He was like chuffing at me like a tiger.
How selfish.
Oh, how
What
cute.
about the lizards need?
All right. Do we know what we're watching next week?
Superman.
No, we're not, because I'm not going to be here. We cannot watch Superman without me.
There he goes. Look, put me back. Put me back up.
Okay, well, we'll have to get back to you.
Cannot watch Superman without me.
We'll have to get back to that and announce that on the channels, because we had Superman scheduled for next week, but we cannot watch it without Jason. That's for sure. So we'll have to announce that on Facebook.
I won't be here next week, but unfortunately, it coincides with Jason not being here next week.
So I guess we'll announce that as soon as we figure it out, and we're just gonna have to swap a few things around.
I thought I had escaped Jason Mankey. I thought I had escaped the terror claws of Superman.
I will haunt you. Superman will haunt you.
You can try. I think that would be marvelous.
Yeah, he's a DC Comics character.
All right.
never mind.
Well, we have a couple minutes. Does anybody have anything coming up in the near future that they want to talk about?
Next Wednesday, I will be on a plane going to Pagan Unity Festival, Puff, one of my absolute favorite outdoor festivals in North America, held in the state of Tennessee, somewhere in the wilds between Memphis and Nashville.
Beautiful. Thank you. You guys check it out. Anybody else?
I have we are 6 weeks or so away from Mystic South, which is mid-July, 17th, 18th, 19th in Atlanta. We are currently in the end stages of planning, which if you've ever planned a big conference for 600 plus of your closest friends, you know how crazy it can get. But we are 15 days away from you being able to get a hotel room at the Crowne Plaza Ravinia. And then, of course, 6 weeks out from the actual event. If you're interested in coming, go to the Mystic South Conference Facebook group. We post everything there. I post survival guides every week. And I guess that's it. You can get on Sked and see what we got going on. And we hope we see members of this coven there in Atlanta this year.
I have to look that up. Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm just easy to find. thegentlemanpsychic.com. I'll be doing seances and tarot readings and things here in New Orleans. Also, I do them online, University of Magicus, all of those things. I'm there. I'm really easy to find. I'm everywhere. That's about it.
Thank you. But
I'll be doing lizard magic.
Lizard magic.
Lizard
You got
magic.
hypnotize. Well, anybody in the Tampa area, I've got a real last minute Friday. I'm going to be teaching a practical magic class live in Tampa and doing a seance Friday night. Anybody wants to come, go to prettywickedevents.com. Next week, I am heading to Pennsylvania for Creep It Real, which is a really fun. It's at the Haunted Dawes House, and we're going to the old jail and investigations, also doing seances, and I'm doing workshops and dragon workshops and all sorts of fun things. And then I'm going straight to Texas for 8 days, both the Dallas and Fort Worth areas, doing so much. Just go to pattinegri.com, figure it out. But with all of us, go to our websites, go to our social media, like us, follow us, come visit us all over. We all travel and do fun things, and we want to hang out with you and get a goat. Go to Mystery Control, get a blingy goat, get a non-blingy goat, and can't get any panties, but maybe one day we'll get some panties again. But you can get t-shirts, you can get capes and cloaks, and something's ringing. I don't know what that is.
And happy birthday to my wife, who has a birthday on Friday.
Happy birthday!
Yay.
She's
we
the
sing?
wonderful person who lets me do this show.
Should we sing?
No,
No.
You guys never
She's not
let
gonna-
us. You never
she's
let
not going to
us.
hear you anyways. So
That doesn't matter. All right. All right, you guys, come back next week. Like us, follow us, all of our websites, all of our pages. Pet your goat, pet your lizard. I don't know what else to say on that. See you next week at the Witches Movie Coven. Bye. Oh, wait, we have to.